All right, we are live. Today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So some of you may be working, some of you may be taking the day off. I am here working for you guys. So let's get started on this. Before we get going, though, I want to make sure everything's working well. If you can hear me okay, drop a 1 in the comments. It just lets me know that you can hear me and that I don't have to deal with all of that talking for 10 minutes and then figure out that you can't even hear me. So if you guys can hear me, drop a 1 in the chat and let me know, and then we'll get started here. Somebody's calling me. Sorry, somebody was calling me here trying to figure out. Cool. All right, guys. Everybody's dropping 1. We're good. All right. So if you haven't listened to the podcast that dropped this morning, highly recommend go listen to it. Episode number 149, How to Talk Less in Sales, because sales, believe it or not, is not about how much information that you know. It's not about how smart you are. It's not about, finding that one thing in their house that you can connect with and build the rapport and do all that song and dance. It's none of that stuff. It really isn't any of that stuff. And my wife and I, this weekend, we traveled up to Indianapolis to an RV show because we're looking at purchasing an RV, and they usually have pretty good deals there, but also there's hundreds of RVs that you can look at once. And we spent 2 days there, Saturday and Sunday, looking at them. And so on Sunday, we narrowed down to one that we had liked. And we talked with the salesman. He was a very good salesman. He wasn't high pressure. He was just asking us questions, asking us what, features we wanted. We asked him questions. There was no, high pressure, none of that stuff. He wasn't trying to puke how much knowledge they had. Several times he didn't know the answer. He had to go ask. And that was a genuine conversation. And then one of the problems is that they didn't have the specific model that we wanted at the show. And, we can look at other models and see how things are built and get an idea, but we really wanted to walk through the specific model that we wanted to purchase. And so we ended up putting a deposit down under the, pretense that we can go look at a model and then decide after that. So put a deposit down on a model. We look online, and our local RV store has this model in stock. Long story short, we go out there this morning really quick and we look at it. It's what we wanted. We like it. Of course, the salesman there doesn't know that we've already looked at it and made a purchase. Now, this can happen to you in your sales process. They can already talk to other contractors. They can already have established a relationship. They may have even committed to another contractor, but they haven't signed the paperwork yet. And so you still have a chance, right? Well, we're not novices. Like, my wife and I have been thinking about buying a camper for 2 years, and we've done tons of research. I mean, she nerds out, we nerd out on it, have air tables of all those different, every camper, their gross vehicle weight, all this information. Like, it's not just an impulse decision. And so we go into this to look at the camper, but, if they offered us a price that was significantly lower, like $2,000 or $3,000 lower than what they gave us at the show, I mean, it would be stupid for us to pay $2,000 or $3,000 more and then travel 3 hours away to pick up the camper, right? You guys tracking with me? I'm going to get to sales here in a second. I'm setting this up. The salesman, when we go out and look at it, we're doing well. He's showing us all the features. He's excited about it, and he, everything he loves. Well, one of the features that we really, really wanted on the camper was self-leveling, which is like a $3,200 option. It's a significant cost, but I really wanted it on there. And so this particular model they had in inventory did not have that feature. And when I brought it up to him, he immediately started telling me why I didn't need to have that feature. Now, granted, this is this is a very important feature for me, at least. And he starts telling me why I don't want that feature. It's expensive. It doesn't work all the time. He's starting to sell against it. Why? Because it's not the one in stock. This salesman is trying to push the trailer that he has in stock because he wants to make a sale. He is trying to benefit himself. He's not trying to benefit me. The other salesman that you talked to at the show and made a deposit on, he was not trying to benefit himself directly. Now, obviously, if he makes the sale, then he's going to get a commission. But there was no talking us out of anything. Matter of fact, they had the exact same model in their inventory without the jacks. And so we had to custom order this camper that has the self-leveling jacks. I really wanted it, right? And so the difference between the one salesman on Sunday and the other one today was night and day difference. And it was really just confirmation that we had picked the right person to work with, even though they're selling the exact same product. And this translates 100% into contracting, because believe it or not, you are selling the exact same product. I know, trust me, I know you think you're amazing. I know you think your product is totally different than everyone else's, and you're the only one that can do it. But every time I bring this up, the comparison is the meth head in a truck, rusted out truck, who doesn't show up, takes your money and runs. It's always the extreme opposite comparison of who we talk to. Like, that's what we talk about. I do high quality work and always hack jobs out there. That's who we compare ourselves to. But the reality of it is there's other contractors out there that are just as good as you, that produce maybe even better product than you. I know that's subjective, and I'm not trying to hurt anyone's ego here, okay? But it's a reality that's possible, that someone's actually even better than you. So when you go out there and you're trying to sell the exact same camper, and this one is, he's answering questions and being helpful, and this one's trying to push a narrative to make a sale, your clients will pick up on that 100%. They're not stupid. They're not stupid at all, okay? And so you have to understand that it's not the product. It's not your product that sells the job. It's the relationship. Now, I'm going to drive 3 hours one way, 3 hours back, a total of 6 hours. And I got to work out a situation to put the hitch on there. There's lots of complex problems to this, when I could have just ordered it and bought one in my backyard. It's 20 minutes away. I could go there and buy the exact same camper. I could even order the exact same camper with the jacks if I really wanted to. But I don't want to work with a place that is trying to talk me out of the features that I wanted just to make a sale. And not only to mention they were $5,000 more. Okay. So this used car sales tactic, they're trying to sell me a camper that doesn't have the features I want, and they're going to charge me $5,000 more. Now, had it been the other way around, and the one up in Indy that we wanted was $5,000 more, I would still be reserved to go there, because I felt like I was trying to be taken advantage of by the local dealership, right? These are all things that are important, guys. You have to understand that it's not about your technical stuff. It's not about what you know, and it's not about trying to make a sale for the sake of making a sale. I tell all my clients that we're here to be consultants. All we're trying to do is consult with people to help them with their project. That's it. If at the end of the day they feel like we're the best suited to do that, then they hire us. If not, they don't hire us. Right? Now, there are definitely strategies and tactics that we can employ to tip the scale in our favor 100%. These are all tools of the trade that I talk about in my coaching program, and specifically for the Profit Sales System, which is designed for contractors to be able to extrapolate the information that's important, right? Capture that information, recall it to them so they know it, recap it is what we call it, so that they understand that we understand what's important to them, and then lay it out in a manner to which is very favorable for them and is a very low pressure sales tactic. And at the end of the day, or at the end of the call, the sales process, they just feel much better and more connected to you than anyone else. And that is ultimately why they buy from you. It is not about your quality. Sorry. If that hurts your feelings, I'm sorry, but it's not about your quality. Because everybody believes that when they hire a contractor, that everyone is competent to do the work that needs to be done. Now, we know that not everyone is competent, not everyone's equal. We understand that. But at the end of the day, they will pay more money for someone that they feel like understands what's important to them and gives them the belief that they're going to have a higher level of achievement, a certainty of achievement by going with you versus the other guy who's $3, $5, $10, $20,000 cheaper. Clay New Hope, great question. How do you handle pushback on price? Well, there are two things. First of all, we don't ever ask their budget, at least not first. And second, the price is the price. So there really is, they can't be pushed back on for your price. Now, there's two things you got to understand here. Okay, Clay, there's two things. One, no matter what your price is, whether it's the cheapest or the most expensive, no matter what your price is, if you don't have the right client, it doesn't matter. If you're not in front of the right client, it doesn't matter. You could give a 50% discount. If you're in front of the wrong client, they're still going to complain and or not hire you. So you have to, let's take that out of the equation. Let's take out of the equation that they're not the right client. Fair? So let's assume that you're talking to a qualified client who has the money to hire you at your price point, but they're giving you pushback on your price. You have to the next step is you have to figure out why, right? You have to figure out why. In other words, what's the pushback on? Is it because they talk to another contractor and their price is, $5,000 cheaper than you? Have they not talked to another contractor and their price is just a number they made up in their head compared to yours, right? So now the next step is, if it's a qualified client, the next step is figuring out what is the reason for the pushback. So sometimes, Clay, if you're the first contractor, you're delivering the bad news, which is, you say sticker shock, it's a realignment of realities, right? They had a number in their head. Maybe they watched a HGTV show and they said, we remodeled our whole kitchen in 2 days for $20,000, right? And you're dropping an $80,000 price tag on a kitchen. It's going to take 4 weeks. And they're like, what? I don't understand. They did it on TV in 2 days. Like, that's a realignment of realities. You're going to be the one that breaks the bad news to them. I'm sorry, Mr. or Mrs. Jones, like, that's not reality what you see on HGTV, okay? That's just not reality. Based on, our business and the value that we provide, it's X amount. And so sometimes you have to let people come to terms with themselves that the price is way more than what they think, right? And so if they're a qualified client, meaning they have the money but they don't want to spend it, you can't make them spend it. It's just that simple. But if they talk to you and you say 80,000, they talk to another guy, he says 70,000, they talk to another guy and he doesn't want to do the job and he says 100,000 and their budget was 50,000, they have to come to terms with the fact that they're not going to get it done for 50,000. And so now they have to decide, do we want to spend more money? Are we willing to spend more money? How bad do we want this project done? Is it worth it to us? Blah, 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 blah. They have to make that justification. You can't do it for them. Okay. The last factor in that is, usually if there is a pushback on price with you specifically, it's because there's a value to price discrepancy. And so this is, if my price is here, let's say it's 80,000 for this kitchen, this fictitious kitchen, it's 80,000, and the perceived value they are receiving is here at $60,000, no one's going to make that deal. They're going to feel like they're overpaying for the value they're receiving. You got to flip that. So if you're at 80,000 price tag, you have to give them a perceived value of higher than that. You have to make it so that they perceive they're getting $100,000 project or $100,000 service or whatever, and now it's actually a deal. And that can come in many different ways. I mean, there's tangible and intangible ways of doing that. The majority of the value is going to be intangible, but there can be some tangibles like extended warranties and additional work and blah, 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 that ultimately cost more money to deliver. But most of it's going to be intangibles by the actual conversation, by feeling like they can trust you. Those are things that you want to leave them with. So here's an ideal situation. They push back on price, right? It's too much. They go talk to 3 other contractors. The dilemma that I want them to be in is Brad was the most expensive one out of the 3, but I really, really liked him the most out of the other 3 or the other 2. Maybe the middle guy, he was, a few $1,000s cheaper, but kind of come off as a slime ball. And the other guy, he seemed like a reasonable person, and he was, a little bit cheaper too, but he seemed like he was, a little less experienced. He hasn't been in it as long, or he didn't do a very good job of communicating. Like, we like him, but we're not super confident in his ability to get the job done. So the dilemma that I want my clients or prospects to be in is Brad is the most expensive and I like him the most. And so now we have to decide, do we risk it? Do we take a financial risk, an emotional risk? Do we lower our certainty of achievement to hire one of the other contractors? That is the position I want them to be in. And guys, you're not going to always close people on the first call, right? They have to sometimes go through that process, and sometimes they make the wrong decision. Sometimes ignorant clients make the wrong decision by hiring the cheaper contractor, hoping they're going to have a good turnout. And so part of your marketing efforts should be in educating your clients. And there's ways that you can do this in your favor. So for example, if you know that a lot of clients, let's say they hire another company because they can get to the job sooner than you. You're booked out for 6 months and they're always seem to be like 2 weeks out, right? You can put together some type of information packet that puts that into question. Like, here's 10 questions you should ask every contractor. How far out are you to be able to start? And then you put it in parentheses, if they say they can start it within a week or 2, then that would be a red flag. So like, you can start framing, that's what it's called. You can start framing the information for your clients so that it puts them in doubt with the other people. And that can be done. And by the way, this is a manipulation tactic. I'm not going to lie. This is what you're doing. But if you don't know this, you're being manipulated 24/7 a day, right? 24/7 every day. Like, that's just how life is. You're constantly being manipulated. I'm manipulating you right now. That's a reality. So the difference is, are you manipulating for bad, for evil, or are you manipulating for good, right? And so if you can structure education pieces, blog posts, Facebook posts, TikTok posts, whatever, emails, I don't give a crap. You can structure that so that it makes it seem like the value you're providing is better, and whatever they're doing is not. Now, you can't like make up stuff. Like, it has to be legit. Otherwise, they'll see right through it. Okay? They'll see right through it. I mean, there's always a use case where the busiest and best contractor in the country has a 2-week window, and because a guy canceled a job or didn't pay his deposit or whatever, now there's 2 weeks and someone calls at the right time and it's like, well, guess what? We could start your project tomorrow. Like, that can happen. It doesn't mean that contractor's shady. But if we look at, statistical data, it would say that probably if they can start right away, there's something going on. So there's always obviously extenuating circumstances there. Luke says he's offended and manipulated. Good, Luke. I want you to be offended and manipulated. And he says, be an authority in your marketing industry. Yeah, 100%. So I saw a couple questions come in here. So what is it? R remodeling? Oh, AR remodeling group. Yeah, I have a coaching program if you're interested. Stormore says, yes, and it will change your life. Highly recommend. Okay, he's talking to AR remodeling. Clay says, I try to avoid justifying the price. Seems defensive. Should I explain the value? No, you don't explain value. You give value, right? You don't explain it. You give it. And so the sales process that I teach is how to provide value in the sales process without explaining the value, right? So here's an example, Clay. Let's say you're the second contractor they called. You give them a price, $20,000. They go, well, this other guy gave us a price for $15,000. Can you match their price? Right? Like that's a pretty common thing. Can you match someone else's price? And by the way, if a client ever asks you to match their price to someone else, match your price to someone else, what they're communicating to you is that they like you more. They want to hire you, but your price is more expensive. And so they want you to lower your price so that they can get a better deal. But the simple fact that they're asking you to lower your price or match their price means they like you the most out of the other person or the other options. Think about that for a second. If price was the only thing that mattered and you're at 20 and the other person's at 15, they're just going to hire the $15,000 person and they're never going to tell you, or you're not going to hear, they're going to ghost you. You're not going to hear back from them. Or they may say, well, we went with the other contractor. So if someone's coming to you and saying, can you match someone else's price? That is a good thing because it means that they want you to do the work. And if you get all butthurt and you go, well, I don't match anybody's price. The price is the price. And, don't call me back in 2 months when somebody else screws it up. If you take that position, you've just shot yourself in the foot with a perfectly good customer because you let your ego get in the way. So just keep in mind, if they're asking you to lower your price, that means they actually like you, right? And so the response to that is, there could be several responses to that. But one of them, my favorite one is, Cindy, if I was able to lower my price and match theirs, wouldn't that mean I was overcharging you to begin with? And that response states that my price is my price. I can't lower my price. If I was able to lower my price, that means I have wiggle room and I was overcharging you. And so by simply asking that question, it's like telling your clients, no, I can't lower my price. My price is my price. And that is a respectful way of saying it, but in the form of a question. Okay. So that's one way. If I was able to do that, wouldn't that mean I was overcharging you to begin with? And maybe they say, well, I mean, maybe or not. We just wanted to see, we really like you, but this other guy was cheaper. And, why would we pay $5,000 more? Kind of goes back to my camper scenario I was telling you about. Then you say, how can they do that? Like they're at 15,000 and I'm at 20. Like I can't. There's no way I could do it for 15,000. I would lose money at $15,000. How can they do that? You ask the client, how can they do that? Because you're shocked. How can they do that? And they're like, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, maybe they're using different materials. They're using different materials. Like, what do you mean? Like, I thought we were pricing the same job. Well, and so all you're doing when you ask that question is how can they do that? Is you're putting doubt, you're injecting doubt into their decision making ability or the doubt into the other contractor and what they're doing. And you're basically creating this idea in their head that maybe the other contractor is cutting corners or maybe they're using inferior products. Whatever it is, I don't care. I just want to create doubt in their head. Now, again, there's always exceptions. It's very possible that the $15,000 contractor is going to do just as good as you and they just don't know any better and they're underbidding the job or they're desperate, and so like the client's not going to have a bad experience. I know we all want to think that just because they're cheaper, they're going to have a bad experience. That's not always the case. I was this guy for a long time, high quality work, undervalued my services. I was cheaper, losing money, hand over fist, day after day, until I finally wisened up. So it's possible there's guys out there that are underbidding through ignorance or naivety, how you say that? Naivety? I don't know. I shouldn't use big words I can't say. Through their naiveness, they they underbid, and so they go with the lower bid. They end up with a pretty good experience, pretty good product. And then what happens when they do that? They go tell all their friends how they found this other contractor who was cheaper. And if you're that cheaper contractor, you're flooded with calls of people wanting the same level of service and quality for the cheaper price, right? You set yourself up for failure for future products because everyone's going to want the cheaper price. So you have to take into consideration that sometimes contractors are naive or ignorant or uneducated, whatever word you want to use, and they're just screwing themselves. And there's nothing you can do with that. I mean, you can't really convince someone, to change their mind that they should pay you an extra $5,000 when the other guy can do the exact same thing, but they're just ignorant. You really can't overcome that. Somebody on Facebook said, it's very possible the other contractor is a great builder. It's broke. And honestly, guys, most of the contractors I talk to are really good builders and they don't make any money, which means that most contractors are underpricing. Most. And that's probably directly correlation to the 96% that go out of business within 10 years because most contractors underbid. That's just a reality. Let's see some more questions here. AR Remodeling says, I'm not really a new contractor 4 years in, but always looking for more ways to expand. The time in service, time in your business really doesn't matter. I had my business for 9 years before I finally hired a business coach and realized how much money I'd been screwing myself for the previous 9 years. It's just a guess, but probably close to $1 million I cheated myself out of over 9 years. So, I'm glad that you're 4 years in and always looking for ways to expand. That's a good position to be in. Clay said, thank you, sir. Denver's clapping. Denver says, but most of the time it's a red flag if they can start right away. Yep, 20% of my calls are taking over for a bad contractor or over-promising contract. Yeah, spec homes. That happens all the time. I never match a price, and usually 5 days later they call me. Wisco says, selling and operating out of scarcity mindset. Yeah, that happens a lot. Or they never paid their workers' comp. That happens too. You guys are having a conversation. Cheaper prices devalue them while the whole industry. Yeah. Cheaper contractor lower the bar and act as a disservice to clients. That's 100% true. Yeah, Wisco, 1 million. I mean, it's not that hard to understand 1 million. If you're cheating yourself out of $100,000 a year times 9 years, that's 900,000. So that easily could be 1 million or more. Denver says, how do you feel about contractors that can finish the job twice as fast as you? It depends. I mean, I don't have a feeling negative or bad towards that. It just depends on, if they have twice the amount of laborers, then they should be able to finish it twice as fast. Maybe if you can give me a little bit more specific question on that, Denver Mike, I can give you a better answer. I don't have a negative opinion about it unless it's something different. If it's like you're a one-man show and the other contractor's a one-man show and they do the exact same job as you in half the time, I would say you are way too slow. Assuming the quality is relatively the same, you may just be too slow. I know contractors that are perfectionists, and you have to understand diminishing returns. If you guys don't understand what diminishing returns is, I'll tell you real quick. If I can produce a 7 quality, a 1 out of 10, on a scale of 1 to 10, if I can produce a 7 quality product and the client comes in and is like amazed, oh my gosh, Brad, this is absolutely gorgeous. You're amazing. You're the best in the world, blah, blah, blah. Anything above a 7 is a diminishing return. means if I produce an 8, 9, or 10 quality product, it doesn't make the customer any more excited. It doesn't give them any more value. All it does is takes away from my time it takes to produce the work. And so therefore it's a diminishing return. Now, obviously that's completely subjective. You know, your 7 quality might be a 9, my 9, or vice versa. Who knows? It's one of the hardest things to really like scale, put a value to. But the illustration is that most guys will go and redo stuff 2 or 3 times because they want it absolutely perfect, when the first time is completely acceptable by all standards in the industry and or your clients. And so beyond that, anything beyond that is diminishing returns. It provides no extra value to the client. That's where sometimes people can get, it takes them longer to do work than what it actually should. Paul's talking high. Ivan says, what would be the best way to increase leads in your opinion? It's a really loaded question, Ivan, without knowing anything about your business. I mean, you can do direct outbound calls to people, networks, and build your network and get referral sources. The best measurable and repeatable way to get leads is through paid advertisements, either Facebook and or Google. That's the best way to increase leads at a measurable and scalable fashion. Because if I can spend $500, as an example, if I spend $500 a month on, let's say, Facebook ads, and that produces 5 leads, right? And maybe I sell one of them, then all I should have to do is, if I double that to $1,000 a month, it's going to produce 10 leads and result in 2 sales. And if I, times 3, times 4, times 5, every time I increase that dollar amount, it's just going to increase the number of leads and sales. So that's the benefit of paid advertisement, is that you can scale your number of leads to match your demand or requirement. So, I mean, that's, and then there's also like organic, SEO, all kinds of other ways to get leads. But if you're wanting to increase your leads in the shortest period of time, it's going to be ads, hands down, paid ads. Denver says it's usually a small crew. A bathroom model usually takes us 3 to 6 weeks. As some I hear 5 days. Denver, I mean, there could be a case to see, you may be overdoing it, right? Like I shouldn't say never. An ideal crew size for a bathroom is 2 people. If it's a larger bathroom, you can get 3. But really what ends up happening is if you have 3 guys, one person is, non-productive 60 to 70% of the day. He's standing there waiting for this guy to get finished so that he can come in behind him. And so it just depends on how you set up. You may have too many people on staff. You may be doing the wrong kind of jobs I mean, there's lots of factors there. When someone says they can do a bathroom in 5 days, I tend to think BS, unless it's a specific part of it. You're talking about a full gut remodel, especially if you're doing tile, and they say they can do it in 5 days, highly skeptical. And there's a company local where I'm at that says they can do that. And it's funny because if you see the pictures in their ads, anybody with a straight eye, with 2 straight eyes, would be able to see the picture in their Facebook ads and see junk in their tile. Their grout lines are uneven, tiles are not flush, there's lippage. I mean, there's all kinds of problems. If you have a trained eye, to the novice who doesn't know, it looks beautiful. The colors, the size, the type, and all that stuff looks beautiful. And the comments are like, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful. Can you call us and give us a quote? Right? Meanwhile, you see that ad and go, this looks like dog crap. And that, whoever hires this company is going to get screwed. But they don't know because they're unsuspecting. That's why you guys got to get out there and educate your market. Wisco Luke. I didn't know that was you, man. I'm like, I don't know who Wisco is. No idea who. Now I get it. Wisconsin HPM makes sense. I really didn't. I didn't realize that was you. Stormware's talking to Wisco. Hey, buddy, dialed into marketing. I was that guy. So much money lost. To me, it's a red flag. We do everything correct. I'm a perfectionist, though. Yeah, Denver, you gotta understand diminishing returns. We do high-end bathrooms and tile. High-end bathrooms and tile does not require perfection, just so you know. I know this will sound bad. This will sound like, well, you're not a good contractor then. Most of the time, perfectionists, people that have to have everything perfect, that is a mental response to feeling less than, right? So in other words, you're not trying to impress the clients, you're trying to impress yourself, because the feedback you get when the client comes in and says, oh my gosh, this is so beautiful, it strokes your ego and makes you feel better about yourself. So, and I'm just saying that's a true reason why perfectionism, like that's what happens. It can a lot of times it's related to childhood trauma, how you were raised as a child. You know, your dad said you weren't worth anything, you're never going to amount to anything. Your teacher said you were never going to amount to anything, and so you're like, watch me, hold my beer. And because you go out there, now you end up being more of a perfectionist, because to you it's a reflection upon you personally and your self-worth. And so perfectionism is the result of that issue. I'm a recovering perfectionist. It's kind of a joke, I say, but it's true. I used to be a perfectionist until I realized that diminishing returns does not do anything for me. It just steals from me and my family. Paul says the best thing you can do for your business, join Hammer and Grind's Profit Club. Thanks, Paul. Mike says, do you do high-end customer service? Or Wisco was asking him that. Thank you, Ivan. You're welcome. Paul, Wisco, yeah, 5-star. Always watching your content. Appreciate it, Ivan. Spec Homes, I charge $700 to $1,600 per square foot for a house, so I make a minimum 9 to 10 quality. I make it a minimum, yeah. I mean, obviously, if you charge for that extra perfectionism and your clients want to pay for it, then go for it. I mean, go for it. But if you're not charging more and yet you're delivering perfection, you're all you're doing is screwing yourself out of money for your own self, not for your clients. It's not helping your clients any. Denver said that's how I feel. Michael says I'm considering the property restoration, as in water, mold, and fire residential. Me personally would not get into insurance work unless you're just doing the restoration part of it. If you want to go into restoration business, just do the remediation and do not do the putback. Don't get trapped in this mindset that doing the putback is extra money for you, because that's not where the money is. The money is in the actual restoration. There's a local company here that used to do both. He used to do the putback and the restoration. And he always struggled because, that's two different skill sets. Restoration people, remodeling people don't want to do the restoration, and restoration people don't want to do remodeling. Two different skill sets. It's hard to hire for. And once he said, you know what, I'm not doing putback anymore, all I'm going to do is the remediation part, he freaking started making a crap ton of money. So don't get trapped in this belief that you're going to make more money doing the putback. Spec Home says, why are all my clients perfectionists? Well, because you're doing like $1 million homes. Yeah, Paul's right. Nobody cares for perfection. They want it done right. You're just interjecting your own beliefs. That's what I'm saying. A client wants it done right. They don't want it perfect. You're just injecting your own personality, your own ego, your own self-worth into the what you're calling perfectionism. Most contractors, 7 out of 10 quality is like a 11 out of 10 for a client. I mean, that's true. You're like, oh man, guys, I've done this on every job. You get done, you're finally done. You're like, man, I wish I would have recut that piece of crown because that joint up there is not perfect. I wish I would have relayed that one piece of tile because it's a 32nd of an inch off on the grout line. You know, I wish I would have recut that filler piece in the cabinet and made it super tight so we didn't have to put a piece of scribe over or whatever. Like, you can what if yourself to death on every single freaking job, and your client comes in there and goes, oh my gosh, this is beautiful, you're the best ever. And we're still like, yeah, but just don't look up, don't look down, don't look over, don't look at that tile, don't do this, don't do that. Because if you look at that one thing, you're going to see how, you're going to think I'm a crappy contractor. Yeah, I know these details, Paul, because I did it. The reason why I can relate to my clients is because I've done every freaking thing wrong that you could possibly do in construction. And I know that. Like, I've been there, experienced it. Still, it doesn't go away. I can tell you right here on this wall behind me, you guys can't see it, but I put these black tiles up. There's 3 tiles. There's one right around there, and there's 2 down here behind the cabinet that, for whatever reason, the way they're made or whatever, it looks different. The way the light hits it, it puts a different reflection on it. It bugs the shit out of me. Like, there's 3 tiles there that bother me. Nobody will ever notice it, ever. You guys have never noticed it on the podcast. No, you don't see them. Stop it. You guys would never know that unless I told you. So that perfectionism, that desire to want to do good never goes away. It's just understanding the fact that it doesn't matter. And it also, guys, obviously you got to understand that, the situation is different. If I'm doing work in the White House, then it needs to be perfect. If I'm doing work in an apartment building for Section 8 housing, it doesn't need to be perfect. I could probably get away with a 3. So obviously understanding that that is scalable depending on, where you're at. But for most jobs and most clients, you can do a 7 or 8 quality and be perfectly beautiful, amazing work, and your clients will love you to death. So, oh, stop it, Rammer. You didn't see it. You guys didn't see it. Putback is like when you put everything back. So in the restoration world, your dishwasher leaks, ruins everything. They come in, they put the fans in, they put in all that crap, and they ozonators and blah, 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 and they get all the water dried up, right? That's the restoration part. The putback is actually putting back all of the, the new cabinets, the new flooring, the drywall, like finishing it, essentially. Yeah, you can definitely pick your quality per job. One thing that I did in my business is like I had a certain level. Like, I wasn't gonna, if I walked into a Section 8 apartment, I'm not gonna just like make it crappy. Like, I have a certain level threshold. It's like, no matter what, I'm gonna deliver this level of quality. But there are times where I need to step it up and deliver higher quality. And so it didn't matter to me if it was a $1 million home or a $50,000 crack house. I'm still going to like charge what I need to charge, and I'm still going to have a minimum level of quality. It just so happens that my price usually kept me from doing those $50,000 crack house jobs. My price always kept me in the upper echelon of clients to work with. Plus, very specific targeted marketing always put me in front of those people. So I lowered the chances of getting put in front of the less than desirable jobs, And then my price point kept me from being hired for those that actually made it through. Paul says, build it right, be reasonable, keep it moving. Drift says, so you teach how to get more jobs? Yes. I teach you how to understand marketing and how to identify your ideal, we call a client avatar or ideal client, how to identify who that is, and then how to fix and center all your branding around that specific person. It's not uncommon for a lot of clients in the Profit Club to want to rebrand after a period of time. There's several people right now that are talking about rebranding that have been in business for 3 to 7 years. They just understand that it's much better when you have a very specific brand. When you have a very specific service you offer and a very specific client that you work for, and you marry those two together, you have a very specific brand, then you can create a brand that attracts those people, and you marry them together. Paul, I appreciate you saying that, although I know you're also being kind of full of it. He says, Brad is everything we want to be. I'm not everything you want to be. Trust me, I have plenty of faults. Ask my wife. She'll tell you all my faults. Drift says, what do we need to get more info? You can just message me on here, Drift. You can click on my face and go there. There's some links in there. You can go to my website. It's at the bottom of the screen, hammerandgrind.com. You can shoot me a private message on TikTok. There's lots of ways you can get a hold of me. Excuse me. Denver says we're doing miters on the tile today. I hated doing miters on tile. That's one thing I was never really good at, was mitering tile. I'm just going through the comments here, guys. Drift says, I'm out of Fort Worth, Texas, and would love to learn and grow. I have a client in Fort Worth, Texas. So you got a little bit of a uphill battle on that, but Fort Worth is freaking ginormous, so it's not like there's not enough work going around. Actually, I have a couple clients in Fort Worth, Texas, or in that area. Herb Fiscal. Would it be okay to advertise construction and landscaping under the same business name? I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be wise. Denver says, do you still do contracting? Sort of. I have not been doing contracting the last 2 years while I started doing building up my coaching business. I actually am in the process right this second of restarting my construction business with a partner. In other words, he's going to be doing most of the operations. I'll be mostly removed from that business, but I still do have a contracting business. Coaching is where I focus all my efforts. Luke, what was in Fort Worth? What base is there? That's like not on the ocean. What was that? What were you doing in Naval Air Command? Oh, part of the Air Wing. JRB. What's JRB? What's JRB stand for? Oh, reserve base. Okay, that makes sense. We kept it present. I don't know what that means. Because you were You were a cook, right, in the Navy? Isn't that what you did? Was you were a cook? Guys, if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Getting ready to hop off here, so if you got anything, throw them in there. Otherwise, we'll punch out for the day. Hope you had a good Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Ground support. Oh, I thought you were a cook. Spec Home says ex-military go for government contracts. I thought about doing government contracts. I know there can be good money in that. One of my a friend of mine from high school, he got out of the Marines. He was an officer in the Marines. He started a e-commerce business, and he got in doing government contracts. And his e-commerce business is around, well, it's expanded, but when he started, it was sheets, like bed sheets, linens and stuff. And he got a ton of government contracts providing linens and pillows and mattresses and all that crap for the government. So he made a lot of money doing government contracts. Yeah, Denver, reach out to me if I can help him. If you got any questions about the coaching or anything, let me know. More than happy to provide you with some information. Glad you hopped on here, guys. Nothing else coming in. Hope you have a great rest of your day. And that's crazy. $1 billion a year in government sales. Yeah, it's there. So, all right, guys, have a great rest of your day, and talk to you again next Monday. Thank you.